Change is difficult, and law enforcement is traditionally very tradition-based. And I have to say, as I mentioned, within the VPD, we have very progressive management team, and it just seems that because of that tone being set by our senior management, that the managers below have adopted that mindset. So we seem in a good position, but not every agency that I deal with has that, because some are scared of change. Change can be scary because we've been doing this for X amount of years. Why do we have to do something different? And you get pushback from that. So just marketing our availability of the crime system to other law enforcement agencies. Some were, wow, this is a great thing. You know, we appreciate the VPD offering up their infrastructure for other law enforcement, and it was completely done with altruistic intentions. It's for the greater good of the law enforcement. It's not about making, you know, we do not generate any revenue from this. It's a zero sum on it. The only money that we collect is to pay for the licensing. Everything else, it's offered in order to promote the greater good of law enforcement and catch bad guys and prevent crimes. We look at the evolution of how things have been going with law enforcement, with files that I worked on in the 1990s, serious organized crime files. You would put those together in a couple binders and it would go to court. Nowadays, a similar investigation with similar charges, the volumes of information and the legislative and legal requirements to move that case to charges and through the court system now would fill my room and then some. So you're dealing with millions of documents, you know, hundreds of millions of records, and when you're dealing with the database, linkages and cross relationships between tables and things of that nature. And it becomes very difficult to do a good job at investigating unless you're leveraging technology. You have to do it. And if you're not fully pushing the envelope on technology, getting that proverbial needle in a haystack becomes impossible because it's buried in massive volumes of data. Because as the technology revolution moves forward, the biggest challenge for law enforcement is not that we don't have enough information, it's that we're being saturated with so much information. And it's not humanly possible to go through that and sift through it. In the past, you would just have it in a file folder and you would have it in binders and you would flip through it. Now you're dealing with hundreds of millions, in some cases billions of records, and you have to have technology in order to distill down to what are the core elements of the investigation, who are the core people, and what is the modus operandi, and what are the interrelationships that are taking place. And that is very technologically intensive, and you need specialists that can do that and can leverage the technology and produce those deliverables that can then further an investigation. 10 years ago, when we started major crime teams together under the major case management model, analysts were not part of that. Now I'm happy to say when we create a major case management team, within the top 3 positions, the team leader, the commander, and the analyst are usually the first 3 considerations when a project team is put together. Because with the right analyst that can really make the technology sing, will make or break the success of an investigation. And we've seen that time and time again. And that's why there's been such a success in the analytic program here, because it's not just smoke and mirrors. We have tangible results, and our management and people that are participating in the investigations, they see a net return. They see greater successes. For example, a recent one that was in the news, Sharma. He was an offender that was lived in Surrey and was moving into Vancouver to solicit his victims. So he'd be moving from one jurisdiction to another jurisdiction, lives elsewhere, and after obtaining his victims in the city of Vancouver, would then move to another municipality, Burnaby, to then commit his substantive offenses against the victims. So we have multi-jurisdictional offense taking place. Taking at each element of it, it's very difficult for a single municipality without the technology and the overlap and looking what's happening cross-jurisdictionally to investigate that effectively. In the case of Sharma, our sex crimes analyst was able to identify a number of victims and find the cross linkages between the victims and where the offenses were taking place to where they were being picked up to where the offender was living, and that triangle of moving between jurisdictional boundaries and connect the dots on that. And you know, I'm confident in saying that without the technology and without a highly motivated, highly trained analyst that could leverage the technology, I'm not sure those cases can be solved.